So now, my friends, that's reorienting economics. It's an amazing idea. Economies of imagine. You tell to an entrepreneur, a local entrepreneur, even a billionaire like Elon Musk or Bill Gates that what a system you are proposing is that finding such activities which have higher level of social capital would then identify domestic commerce, or then job profiles which would imply more and more unskilled labor or poor segments of the population, while the idea would be to the government policy, to public governance, would be to have economies of scale in any of their regulatory policy would then economies of scale of be used by this new framework, where more and more labor should be applied to then create greater and greater output. That would nicely fit with productive labor though. But then there can be great ideas, new ideas. Microfinance is one of those ideas. Now, Easy Pesa is one of those ideas, which would facilitate labor through technology. I mean, you can facilitate labor through any social, technological, economic, and political identification. I mean, you have to be a little bit creative. So this framework really matters. I mean, productive labor, how can you make, for example, once you understand this framework, then you start understanding how it should work. Now, for example, asking a simple question that how would poor people with low level of education would really be productive labor? And that's where creativity comes in, that's where business strategy would come in, and that's where the traditional knowledge would come in. Being a Muslim country, more than 99% people from Pakistanis are Muslims. And Muslims are really, through mosques and through religious scholars and through Sharia experts, they already know how to then, culturally exchange value with others, because it would represent noble human values through Islamic teachings. And that's a great idea. And everybody can speak Urdu, such a beautiful language. So if I'm speaking in English, I shouldn't really be favored with somebody who can speak really good Urdu and then have greater philosophy than me, can describe and be a professional or be a somebody, And it is a true observation, my friends. I've interacted with mechanics, I've interacted with common people, shopkeepers, and they all understand, but they're speaking in Urdu. So it appears to be, they would represent amazing noble human values and culture, because they are Muslims, they are traditionally oriented, and that's productivity, my friends. So that can be thought out. Yes, Coca-Cola through Coke Studio would do that. One of my students, before I left UMT this time around in 2022, one of my students, I asked her to, I welcomed her idea that understand how Coca-Cola is as a fuzzy drink producer would then create value. It has created immense value, Coke Studio, immense value to the larger public, and that's really interesting. How would they do that? Through Coke Studio, through songs that are oriented towards traditional values, but then have a modern perspective as well, and oriented towards youth. Music oriented towards youth, where even a truck driver, a young 20 years or 30 years old truck driver would be listening to Coke Studio music. That's an amazing idea. So we need to be creative. We need to identify the local definitions of productivity. We need to identify traditional definitions of productivity, and then use more and more technology. Everybody can use smartphone, isn't it? Everybody can use e-banking. Everybody can use e-commerce. Anyone, you have to be just maybe 18 years old, and you should have a national ID card. And it doesn't matter you are poor or rich, or you are really educated in English medium or Urdu medium, or you are really educated or not. But you will be easily using all those services from a smartphone. So technology can reorient it. So the framework will be completed. More and more labor and more capital would then create more and more output. That's where economies of scale for the future economies hold and stands. That's where you would address the issues of youth bulge, or having a larger population, which are generally being unemployed and impoverished and poor. So my friends, I'm a bit excited with this framework, but I was just watching news today, and a lot of people were criticizing the government, and I can understand. I am somebody who is unemployed, and would be depending on my some of my friends. Now, one of my friend Mustafa Ali Malik, who is living in Kuwait, who would just help me out every month, and that's how. And then some relatives of my wife who would just then assist us, so then we can have a good education for our daughters, or have a life. But that's how perceptions needs to be changed. I mean, opinions needs to be changed. And what you have, I mean, imagine the basic psychology when you are reading economics in every university in the world, not only in Pakistan, that economies of scale are less and labor with more and more machine capital and technology, and have greater and greater efficient ways to produce more and more. And that is inherent to the framework of economic growth.